Hello, my loneliest of trollops. I am here with a chapter. Well, it's basically chapter 40 to chapter 60 of The American Senator, because this is a Victorian novel by Anthony Trollope, published in 1877. It is split up into 3 volumes. So this is volume 2. Number 14, The Senator is Badly Treated, and going all the way to volume 3, number 6, Again at Mistletoe. So yes, if for some reason you've stumbled upon this and you don't want to get spoiled for the middle parts of The American Senator by Anthony Trollope, spoilers ahead. Yeah, this is all a part of, well, sort of, it's not really a part. It's somewhere way off in the nether worlds of the web. Part of Steve Donohue's Lonely Trollop series. So if you're interested in actually having coherent thoughts on that, Google Steve Donohue Lonely Trollops and see what comes up. Yes. So in this part of the thing, we go from The Senator is Badly Treated. Actually, I'm going to skip. Let's try and do this in order of greatest interest at the end. So we'll start off with Mary Masters, Reginald Pole, Mrs. Ushant, and Miss Morton. That this is the kind of the goodly good half of the woman wants to marry above her station, or potentially is above her station, in that Mary Masters is in love with Reginald Pole, who is sort of a kind of a he's upper class, but Mary's like, oh, he could never love a girl like me. And indeed, within these sections, we find out that the guy that Reginald Morton, did I say Paul? Reginald Morton is related to John Morton, is dying, and so he is thus going to be propelled actually way up the social status to kind of an owner of kind of a large estate, become the kind of the high muckety muck of this little Dillsborough area. And so she's like, oh, I can't tell anyone that I'm actually in love with him. However, I don't love Larry Twentyman, a humble yeoman farmer who, is a good guy. He is Larry Twentyman is completely crushed by this. I think, as in the last section, he's still trying to sell off his property. He and Mary do have a scene where she basically convinces him, look, take a year. Promise me you will take a year to decide on what you're going to do. Don't sell off your property. Take a year before you do that, and just, and leave, go to New Zealand, or God forsake, go to Canada. And so that seems to be the case. At the same time, yes, we're having the whole stuff of well, how do I kind of put these together? Trollope is weaving all this together. It's rather hard to pull it apart. We've got the kind of I guess the comedic side of the senator, the American senator, Elias Gotobed, where he goes to a dinner party and is just not a gentleman. He kind of rails against the fact that people buy their positions. Even the church people buy their positions. Of course, he says this is a dinner party filled with rectors and whatever religious folks who, indeed, that's what they've done. They've bought their position and are horribly offended by him just kind of blundering in and saying, oh, this is just terrible stuff. And also, railing against all these kind of idle lords, doing all this kind of this hunting, even if it turns out that the guy he tried to defend in the last sections from Vulpecide is a scoundrel and is kind of a nasty. It's like, well, all these rich lords get to trample through his property, and they get to decide whether there's any restitution from it. It's just like it rankles him. He sees the rot. There's that kind of rot. There's the rotten boroughs that he sees, where it's owned by a lord who gets to decide, who gets to go in, usually either themselves or someone of their choosing. So he does all this stuff, and it's like no one wants anything to do with anything to do with him anymore. But Gotobed is still, he's writing to a friend, I'm still determined to express my views with great labors, preparing a lecture on the subject. I am told that as long as I do not touch on Her Majesty or Her Majesty's family or the Christian religion, which is only the second holy of holies, I may say anything. but my friend who so informs me doubts whether many will come to hear me. He tells me that the serious American is not popular here, whereas the joker is much run after, which makes me think of Mark Twain. Of that, I must take my chance. In all this, I'm endeavoring to do a duty, feeling every day more strongly in my own inadequacy. Were I to follow my own wishes, I should return by next steamer to my duties at home. And it's a good thing that you have an Englishman writing a fictional American senator criticizing the British for all the rot in their system, because I can't say that 18th century United States was particularly what you would call a shining beacon of incorruptibility. This is the era where basically, yeah, big business, definitely owned government for as far as I can tell, and just a lot of other just really terrible, post Civil War politics were playing out. So it's good that they have an Englishman writing. They have Anthony Trollope writing "Go to Bed" as a critic of the English system, because one might talk about people in glass houses not wanting to throw stones. Yeah, so we've got all that going. He's still gonna do his lectures apparently. And then we've got, oh, see, this is horribly all jumbled, but I don't care. And then, yes, we've got probably what's the most interesting thing, which is Arabella Trefoil. She is the kind of the lodestone, the really kind of the character that because she is so foolish, I guess, or so greedy and so self-destructively greedy in these books, it comes as a great surprise when she hears that John Morton is dying. That she's been pursuing Lord Rutherford, basically casting aside John Morton because it's just like, oh God, I do not want to marry this guy who actually does work. He actually works for a living. It's like I want the highest sections, and this is really a letdown to me. And so she's gone after Lord Rutherford. But she hears that he's dying, and she immediately cries out, "Oh, what an unfortunate wretch am I! Everything that touches me comes to grief." Then she bursts out into a flood of true, unfeigned tears, which a part of me at that point was like, oh, well, doesn't the world revolve around you? It's like, he's dying. Isn't this terrible for myself? But it actually does seem like it goes deeper than that. Of course he would die, and so she would again be overwhelmed. But yet she would go to see him. She actually decides to break off her pursuit of Lord Rutherford, which is not to her advantage. And as she determined to do so, there was something even in her hard, callous heart, softer than the love of money, and more human than the dream of an advantageous settlement in life. It's like, it's interesting how John Morton's, being deathly ill has affected her. She breaks off from her fairly quite calculated pursuit of Lord Rutherford, trying to trap this rich young nobleman into marriage through any means necessary. She's being as ruthless as she can. She doesn't have anything else. She is a younger daughter, so she does not get the money. She does not get anything. She's got to basically survive on her wits, and the way she does that is by being ruthlessly pursuing of stuff. Of course, she's been reaching so high that she has put herself in a position where she can fall all the way to the very, very bottom of things and have nobody and nothing. But for some reason, John Morton's being on his deathbed touches her in a way. That thing of something even in her hard, callous heart, softer than the love of money and more human than the dream of advantageous settlement in life. And it's like, she's at his deathbed, and he says, like, she confesses to him, yes, I was going after Lord Rutherford. I was being terrible to you, to someone who actually, part of the reason why is John Morton actually did love her. He actually did treat her decently. And John Morton says to her, but nevertheless, I love you, and try to be true to someone. And she replies, there's no truth left in me, Mr. Morton. I should not dishonor my husband if I had one, but still I should be a curse to him. I shall marry some day, I suppose, and I know that it will be so. I wish I could change with you and die. So it's like there's a real remorse there. There's a real, what kind of a person I am. She has some exchanges with her mother, which you get the sense of how much she has been raised to be kind of her mother's creature. Her mother who is basically estranged from her father. They're, I guess, still technically married, but they never see each other anymore. And you see Lord Augustus, and he is an old, overweight fool, useless thing that obviously Lady Augustus married basically just for advantage, and that didn't work out great for her. But she's raised a daughter to kind of be the same sort of way. It's sort of, you see this generational thing of the effects of an older generation of female on this new generation of female, and just how sad that is. So yeah, she's really kind of the striking character in all this. Still, there is the pursuit of Lord Rutherford. By the end of this thing, the men have gotten together and they're going like, oh, none of us want to get into it. Oh, we'll get Lady Augustus to go beard Lord Rutherford and make him, and it's like Lord Augustus at the end of this is just like, he's not going to listen to her. Men don't have to get married anymore. Used to be in the old days, you could threaten him with a good, you could have a duel and shoot him, but you can't do that anymore. And Lord Mistletoe, kind of a friend of Arabella, says, oh, well, that's brutal. It's like, yeah, maybe it doesn't seem as brutal as what we have now, which is basically Arabella is going to be tossed aside. However, Lord Augustus has no illusions. He tells Arabella to her face, I don't believe you were ever actually engaged to Lord Rutherford. I think this has all just been a bit of this is a hunting trip. And, yeah, if you'd gotten him, that would have been great, but you didn't. So fine, whatever. Yeah, so we have that. We have the contrasting sides. It's funny. It's females in this novel. Sometimes they come off really well in Trollope, like they're the shining, like they're Mary Masters. But we have Lady Augustus, we have Arabella Trefoil, we have Miss Morton, the grandmother of John Morton in this book, who shut her heart to John Morton's father bringing home I think it's a Canadian bride, and basically that was all. She's an evil-hearted, I think they call evil-minded woman, which she really makes things uncomfortable for Reginald and Miss Ushant in this section here, and she's really trying to find any way possible that she could wrest the inheritance going from John Morton to Reginald Morton, which seems to be it's the proper thing. He is the heir, the legal thing. It's the duty. John Morton's like, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. But Miss Morton's like, no, we're gonna find any way possible, and I'm gonna wait for him to weaken and die, and then swoop in with my lawyer to make him change the will. It's like she's it's interesting. We have these older women who really are warped and twisted in this system. You wonder, you can't help but think, but just like how this society is structured has kind of twisted these women. It's not like that they are inherently evil or anything. It's more that this is how they've survived. This is how they've survived in this system. So yeah, I think that's probably all I have to say about The American Senator. Next time it's going to be the final 20 chapters, going from volume 7, The Success of Lady Augustus. So hey, who knows? Maybe she talks to Lord Rutherford and goes, oh yeah, I'm going to marry her. To volume 3, 26, The Conclusion. I did see within these chapters that 2 of the chapters are the Senator's Lecture number 1 and the Senator's Lecture number 2. That little quote there I had of the senator was from a very long letter of him listing kind of the evils of the British system, and you wonder if Trollope is going to let the senator let him loose with a complete teardown of British society in the final chapters of this novel, it'll be kind of an interesting like expository. Will be expository dump. I mean, Trollope is really good at his stuff. Some people, I mean, I enjoy his parliamentary novels where he can get very wonky. Some people find that boring. So maybe I will find this fascinating and other people will find it really, really boring. It's kind of interesting way you're going to end up the thing with, like, it's basically the two, it's the last, there's those lecture chapters, then there's something on Merry Masters, and then there's a conclusion. So it's like, Trollope likes to finish the novel way up here and then just have all this kind of trailing off stuff. It's like, so you're going to have a lecture series at the very end of your novel. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. I think mostly I definitely am into this for Arabella Trefoil. Part of me was like, oh, okay, how much trouble is the senator going to get into? Yeah, Merry Masters and Reginald Morton, get married, be happy together. Larry Twentyman, you'll find a nice girl. There's probably a nice girl within Merry Masters' family for you right there, and that'll be good. And his true love will get transferred to somebody else. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this section. I've been nattering.